Hey,
Voila!
what's up, Kyber Cave fam? How are you all this
Woohoo!
evening?
What is up, Kevin and Say Wong and everybody else out there in Kyber Cave Land? Duran is in the house.
All right. Well, good evening, y'all. Yes, hello, Duran. Hello, Say Wong and Kevin. Say Wong is always here to remind us, hey, where are you?
And you know what? And don't forget, we still got to, I think, wasn't it Duran? Duran has a wedding coming up here in May. Wasn't that Duran?
Oh,
Or was that Oreo?
I,
Or was there a couple
mm,
of people? I think a couple of people
eyes
were getting.
twisted.
Patrick is in the house. Yeah, I think a couple of people were getting married this. We gotta remember those and get those back up here, and definitely got to get some photos of those.
Yes,
There's some
yes.
gifts out.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. We're running a little bit behind, so I want to go ahead and get started. We have some really cool things coming up, and especially with the first segment we always do. What is that, Van?
Nerdy news.
The nerdy news with the new background. All right. First on the nerdy news today. George Lucas's scrapped Star Wars TV show reportedly would have cost $40 million per episode that recently was
Wow.
discovered. So before George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, a producer named Rick McCallum had been working with Lucas on a Star Wars series called Star Wars Underworld.
Yes.
And that would have been, quote, the dark, sexy, and more violent than the predecessing movies. There were 60 scripts that were fully written before it could even be done. And after many issues with disagreements about where the show's direction was going, it was scrapped and an estimated $40 million an episode to produce. And at the time, only Max, then known as HBO, was even interested in contemplating doing the show. But at the cost it was estimated at, it was deemed not pursuable, which makes sense. If you'd like to check out the source I got all the information from, the article is in the description below, but I will stick it into the chat. It was written, I want to make sure I give writers credit. This is Paul Tossi in Forbes magazine. So I linked that over to you guys. But it would have been, the idea of it though sounds pretty cool. It would have been probably not the most appropriate for like Disney Plus. It was something that Disney Plus would make because of the way they described it. But I feel like there's been some shows recently like the Daredevil that's going to be darker and grittier and stuff that Disney will have more options because they know there's kids that watch their shows, but there's adults that own Disney Plus. Like they want to
Right, and they're
see
gonna go
darker
where the
stuff
money is.
too.
They put Wolverine and
Yeah,
Deadpool on done
I
Disney
know
streaming
exactly. So it's not like
because they knew that's where the money was.
yeah, and they'll probably just follow like so many other places where they give parental controls to the kid account and whatnot. Can they just make one watchable movie for 100 million?
You know what? Okay, so wait. I want to back up just a little bit. That has to do. We've had conversations on this channel and actually on Kyber Cave After Dark as well with the
Mhm.
kind of the death of cinema and how in the 2000s everything just became sequels and how when you look back to this time period, there's going to be very few movies that stand out as originals. And I want to say I think there's a place back in the 80s and 90s. Not every movie was a blockbuster. There was a lot of lower budget movies or even medium budget movies, but you had all kind, that's where movies like Steel Magnolias or Rain Man or some of those intermediate movies that were well, actually, I guess Rain Man was an Oscar winner, and so was I don't know what I'm talking about. Those were both Oscar winners. So, but
You
there
mean
was
like budget wise? Is
right,
that what
and
you
not
mean?
everything had to be a big impact action movie. Not everything had to make that high amount of movie. Even Blair Witch Project. Blair Witch Project was one of the
Oh,
first
super.
independent films to
Yeah.
break the multi-million mark, especially compared to the budget that they were working on. Clerks is another classic example of a movie that had very small budget but went on to basically start careers. Oh, speaking of which, did you
Yes.
hear? I've got a piece of nerdy news.
Okay.
Yes, Clerks, nice vision. So, did you hear who was just announced? There have been two announcements for VacaCons, the two guests. Did you
Oh,
hear who they
no,
are?
I did not.
One of them, I forget the gentleman's name. The voice of Andy from Toy Story. Uh, um,
Oh,
Pete
that's
will remember. Pete has had
awesome.
him out multiple times. in
That's
Weekend Blender.
awesome.
But the big draw is Jason Mewes. I'm super excited about Jason Mewes. You don't know who that is, do you?
No.
He is from the movie Clerks. And he was
okay. That's the one. It's one movie I've never seen. Maybe that should be a assignment before Friday.
Yes,
Or
the whole
Saturday.
Kevin Smith catalog.
Funny.
So that was their very first movie was Clerks. But
Okay.
Jason Mewes will be at VacaCon. So I am very
I will have to watch it, so I give myself an assignment before VacaCon comes up.
Yep, Blair Witch Project, just like Kevin was saying. He played Prophet Jay. He did in the movie Dogma. He's been in all the Jay and Silent Bob movies.
Oh, well, I probably have definitely
Hello,
seen his
Thomas.
face because I've seen those movies. But my brain's like not thinking clearly. Maybe if I probably would recognize his face though. Hey, Thomas Barley, it has been a while, sir. Hi, Night Vision. Good to see both of you. All right, next on the nerdy news, just to make sure we keep going here, Diego Luna mourns the end of Andor and looks forward to sharing it with fans. So sometime back, it was revealed that Andor was only going to last 2 seasons, despite how critically acclaimed and praised it was. And Diego Luna, the events lead up to Rogue One, like starting. So Diego Luna said he'll mourn that it's over, but he is looking forward to finally sharing the show with fans and closing out Andor story. You can check out the rest of the story with Diego by an article written by Sydney Sumter on StarWars.net, which, of course, yes, I will, of course, drop it in the chat, and it's in the description below if you're watching the upload. That is your nerdy news.
As one of the beloved characters, the beloved characters of the new Disney takeover. He's one of the ones that everybody can get behind. All right, woo!
Yes. All right. Next on our docket, we have James Kaiser, who's a producer for Flow, the show. Every week he releases a Flow, and last week we actually showed Legit Jedi, as he is known by, because we had Bruno.
And thank you for everybody who tuned in last week. If you did not hang out with us last week, make sure to go back and watch last week's show. Share it with everybody. It's still climbing. After a week. We had so much fun. And please leave a comment and share it with as many people as you can. That got one of our highest hits. Of course, it's anytime you mention Encanto, people are going to go nuts.
If you did not see last week's show, or somehow you were living under a rock and didn't hear about it from our channel, Adasa, who played Dolores on Encanto, was on our show, our guest, and she was absolutely lovely, splendid, and I can't wait to maybe have her on again in the future. She was absolutely lovely.
When we KaiserCon 5, we'll have her come out.
That would be fun. All right. Well, next guest brought to us by James Kaiser is Chris to Fire. That is what he goes by online. And even though his profile picture is of like him doing fire, this is actually with a bit of a saber thing somewhere, and it's a really cool background too. So please enjoy this week's Flow, the show. That is your Flow, the show for this evening. I popped his link in the chat to his Instagram, but you can also check it out in the description below. Thank you, James Kaiser, so much for supplying that. Before we start with our guests, I'm going to do a shameless plug. I have my own personal channel on Twitch. It's just meant so JD. And on Tuesday, I will be doing an 8-hour stream playing the game Phasmophobia. I'm going to be
Wow.
raising money, funds for me to go to help cover cost of going to TwitchCon, which is a convention in October for streamers. And there's going to be lots of panels on growth and reaching new audience, as well as some people I'd like to meet. So I will be doing different incentives and things like that, which will be really interesting. Like for things that are there are things that are related to the game and things that are not related. Like you make me play with oven mitts on if you pay like $5. If you pay 10, I have to take a shot of pickle juice.
Ooh, oh man, make
um
sure Phil gets in on that one.
yeah, and then when 6 p.m. hits, which is 2 hours left in the stream, there is one where you can choose the difficulty in the game, and if I die, I have to take a shot of whiskey.
Oh my god.
And
Okay, I'm
that's
gonna
gonna
go.
probably cap at 6.
Oh,
So
keep going.
it'll be a lot of fun. A lot of different silly things you can make happen. I'm gonna be wearing a t-shirt. Like you donate $1, I will write your name on the shirt that I'll be wearing. So it's gonna be lots of silliness, lots of fun. The cost of going to TwitchCon is quite a lot. Especially for small creators. And so I'm just looking for some assistance because I'd like to go and learn about growing and reaching new audience. And it's just going to be a lot of fun if I get to go. So that is on Tuesday
And you're
p.m.
gonna have
starting at
giveaways.
yes, we're going to have some awesome giveaways. Let me read you the list of the giveaways I have. So the first, I'm gonna have a custom tumbler from Miss T's Charming Designs. It's actually my sister's business. She'll work with you on making a custom tumbler. She's done things that are like really, really cool and interesting. I'll have keys to the games Star Wars Force Unleashed 1 and 2, as well as keys to Lego Batman 1 and 2. I will be giving a Steam, Xbox, or PS gift card, depending on what the winner chooses which one they want. And then there will be a Kyber Cave saber.
Actually, you have one
And,
around, don't you? Do
yes,
you have a
it's
saber near you?
behind me. I just charged it.
This is the saber you'll be giving away. The one name for you.
The saber I'll be giving away is the one named after me. It is it's called the Mez. It's a weathered appearance. This one's black and blue. It's really cool. I'm very excited to be able to give one away. Van's like, that seems appropriate for it to be the one named after you. So yeah, I just charged it. So I had put it with my other saber. My first saber ever was actually my first like paycheck by Kyber Productions. So it's always been kind of fun that's been my first paycheck. But yeah, so that would be those will be the giveaways that will happen over those 8 hours. So I'm very what's the tumbler drink of choice? No, it's it's like one of those like where you keep your coffee in. I mean, I have a picture if you guys like wanted to see. Because I've been setting up images to show on the stream for people to check out. It'll just take me a quick second.
And while we're at it, I want to remind you, if you have any saber needs, head over to kybercave.com.
Yes,
we are on the road, and we actually have people that ask, yes, when you see us at the convention, we do have special prices that are not available on our website. So when you see us live, we have certain sabers that are 15% off there that day. But if you head back to the website, they are typical price. Yes. We also do a really cool thing. If you happen to come to a convention and I don't have the saber you're looking for, if you order from us that day, and we do the invoice for you that day from the table, you'll get an additional 15% off on that saber, and it'll take approximately 7 to 10 days to get to your house. So make sure to check out kybercave.com. I also want to remind you that this weekend, and you're going to hear more about this when we talk to our fantastic guest, but you will get to see the fantastic Miss Metz live and in person. You can take your picture with her. Yes, she is a real person. She is not just AI. She is a real.
Are you sure I'm not AI? Just a bot.
And you do have real intelligence. You don't have artificial intelligence.
That's true. This is the image I made for my sisters to show that she's giving away custom tumblers. You can see there's a really cool, like there's Beetlejuice. There's ones on the left that's like horror characters, and that says friends like on the bottom, and then there's just cute Christmas ones, and there's different kinds, and she'll make a custom one for you. So that's like one of the examples of the giveaways. And so I just wanted to plug that in. So Tuesday 12 p.m. Pacific is when it starts, and it'll be 8 hours long on the Twitch channel at MetzoJD. All right,
and then this Saturday, and we'll talk more about it with our guest. Go ahead, Metz.
So this is it's time for our guest. Do you want to introduce?
Our guest, I was just telling you, it's funny. This is in the 4 years we've been doing the show. This is the first time we've had a guest on, and then we've had him back on so quickly again. Typically, it's a year, sometimes even 2 years before we get back around to guests again. But this gentleman just got so much cool stuff going on all year long. We can't help to come back to him. We are going to be a part of this next one too. So, Mets, on this one, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in and tag team on this one. All right.
Righty. Sounds good. All right. Thank you so much.
With no further ado, I would like to give it up for local celebrity and favorite. You've known him for the last 15 years in this area. If you know anything about conventions, you know about Die Hard and Sons, or rather, you know about my man, Peter. So give it up one time for Pete Salazar. Woo! What is up, sir?
What's up, brother? How you guys doing?
Oh man, I am fantastic. Patrick here says you can't hear it, but there are 2,000 people in my house cheering for you right now.
That's awesome, man.
How have you been, man? I always know you're busy because I'm always catching you between things. You're always like in the car going from one place to the other place. But I'm thankful you can always squeeze us in.
Well, right now, Van, I'm chilling in the back of my van, so we're just trying to make this thing work, dude. I remembered, but I forgot, but I remembered. If that makes sense, I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get on at 7 o'clock. So, I apologize for that. We closed our store down, and then I made a stop right now at a family function real quick, and I'm like, I gotta jump. I told I was like, I'll be outside, guys. I gotta jump on a quick little conversation, little interview thing, and with my buddies from Kyber Cave, and I'm like, I'll be back. So,
well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you've always got your hand in 12 different pots cooking up something.
Yeah, right now I'm just trying to let everything simmer, man. I'm trying not to add too much, but then that's easier said than done. But right now it's cool. I got enough for me, anyways, going on till June, and then I got to set the second half of the year up for everything else that that I make my second rounds on, or if I'm out there being a vendor at any events, whether it be north to south to Fresno. Yeah, dude. Plus having the shop and all the other stuff that I just have to do as a normal person on top of that, it's enough for me, dude. I love it. It's a little crazy sometimes, but I mean, you got to love what you do, man. I always say that you got to love what you do.
Right. Well, it's kind of crazy right now with the economy and different people. Everybody's everybody's got to have a hustle in some different way. You just that you've been doing this for a long time. A lot of people, I think they know you from one aspect, but they don't realize all the other things you got going on at the same time. So those that aren't aware, this gentleman not only produces the conventions that you go to, particularly the weekend blender ones. And if you look at a lot of these cons, you go to a lot of these bigger ones like SAC Anime or any of the Fan X or any of these, they're charging you $35, $70 for the weekend. If you go to San Diego, you can easily spend hundreds of dollars for a ticket. And then you still got to go pay to go see a celebrity that you might want to see or get into a cosplay contest. This gentleman has figured out the equation where it costs you nothing. You get to come to an environment, have a good time, an environment that I want to say is a safe environment. So at no time do I feel like, I have to watch my back or I have to particularly watch out for the little kids. It feels like a very family welcome type of environment. Not only are you doing that, but you are a store owner as well. You also do vending at some of these other cons that aren't your cons, and you have a brand new podcast that's coming up. So I don't even know where to start with you, bro.
I know. Sounds like
we need to start this weekend. We need to start with the first thing, the thing that's closest.
Okay. So Thank you for all that, man. Thank you. I mean, the Weekend Blender, it went through 3 name changes and 4 phases to become what it became. I mean, I started in 2009 at the at the mall that I have a shop now the last few years in Clovis, California, which is really an extension of Fresno.
Right.
And, it started, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just know that what if I could build a show that I can do as much as I want to do, meaning the work that could be put in, the promotion could be limitless, where I can put everything behind it to know that I did everything I could to bring the people out, to try to build any excitement, build a community event. And I started
right
in the
your
center.
Backyard too.
Say that again?
That's right there in your backyard to start off with.
Yeah, it's home. And it's weird because I had a store in 2007. It took me 10 years to open that store. I started dabbling stuff in 1997. When I first found out I was going to be a dad. That's why the and son to the diehards came in. And I only have one son. I know a lot of people say sons. I have one son and I have 3 daughters. But, my son was the inspiration of I used to hustle when I was a teenager. I mean, grab the lawnmower and go try to cut somebody's lawn for $20. I mean, I was doing that at 12 years old. So my dad and I had an uncle showed me how to work and how to hustle. And it never went back, dude. But it kicked back in after my teenage years of getting a part-time job in high school. And when I was going to be a dad in 1997, and I found out, in the beginning of that year, in 1997, I said, I got to do more. So even though I had a day job, I used to make pizza in high school. I went back to making pizza again somewhere else, as I still had my day job, 40 hours, a week. And I was doing it at night, and then just something was like, man, dude, I don't really like doing this because I feel like I'm only going to make, at that time it was like $5 an hour, $5.25 maybe, it was somewhere in there. And I thought, I got somebody younger than me telling me what to do. And I was being, stubborn. And I just said, I'm going to start my own business. Well, man, I should have never said that because I never stopped. So I went through so many different ideas. 1997, 2007, we opened up our first store called Diehards. And it was always diehards from the beginning. It just kind of evolved. And
has it always been based around toys and or comics, or were you selling other kinds of items?
So I was really big in selling sports memorabilia, off and on throughout the years. And I've quit, dude. And then I came back, and from 97, it was a love-hate thing because it was hard when you were a weekend warrior where you could only get out on those weekends to do anything. It was tough.
Right.
So, I made do with it. And then I, like I said, eventually we opened up a store. I was a big time toy collector since 92 when I could actually go buy toys,
Right.
After I graduated. Yeah.
Real quick, do you happen to have an overhead light or anything in the car?
I do. I just noticed it started getting dark on me.
Yeah.
That help a little bit?
That definitely helps.
Okay, wait. Where'd it go? Give me 1 second here.
I don't want you to kill your battery or anything.
No, it'll be okay. Where is it at? Come on. Let's try that.
Yeah, there we go. A
little better?
That's better. That's better.
So, like I said, it took about 10 years to open that store called Diehards in 2007. I was already a toy collector ever since I watched Empire Strikes Back in the theaters when I was about 7 or 9. I can't remember the exact age, but I was in the theaters with the original Empire. So I've had toys that I collected. And then as an adult, when I got my job and graduated from high school, I've always been a toy guy. So when I opened the store, it was sports memorabilia, but then we wanted it to be more. So we were trying to add the toys and like movie replica swords. And it had like a music, movie, sports type of content in there.
Right.
And when I had that store, it only lasted a year because we kind of got broken into. But in 2008, after I closed the store, I started booking live music. So I went into booking bands in Fresno, and I got up to Hollister, California, up north. And I did easily about 200 plus music shows I had 2 other friends in that were partners at the time. And then I kind of continued on my own. And, from 2008 to 2011, I went on my own to continue to do it. But overall, I think I worked with like 300 plus bands and like 200 plus shows we did. So practicing with that under Diehards Music is what we used to be called. Before that, it was D4D Music, Diehards for Diehards Music. Then we went to just Diehards Music.
Right.
When I did that, that showed me how to learn how to promote from scratch, build shows,
Right.
you know, work with booking agents, set up contracts, the per diems, the hotels, the whole 9 yards, printing the tickets, printing the flyers, and then getting out there and getting flyers out, promoting. So
Right.
I took all that experience and those losses that I had in doing that, and I applied it to my first mall show as I was learning that at the same time for 8 to 10 years that I did bands. And I ended in 2016, came back in 2018. But in 2009, I was creating the mall show at the same time. So
that's absolutely incredible. It's so funny, man. You and I need to go have a beer sometime. I find it amazing how similar our backgrounds are. Before I had my son, I used to do spoken word poetry, so I would produce live shows. But we would have often I would do collab shows with hip hop bands or different rock bands or even stand up comedians. So I often had like an open mic that would go on before the poetry segment of the show. You know what I mean? So I've had a lot of experience in live shows, television shows. I think we have a very similar, and all of that has been training. That was boot camp for what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? So when I got out and was producing my own cons, I just used all the knowledge I had from those.
And that's what all that stuff did for me, man. I mean, we had a web show that we pre-recorded and only got up to about maybe 8 episodes, I think. Anywhere from 6 to 8. They were all pre-recorded. And it was called Get Off the Couch. It was one of my buddies' ideas for the title. And it was for you to get off the couch and go see what Fresno has to offer. And I didn't want to go into the studio live because I didn't want to commit to a specific time and a day where if my life got busy, you know, we weren't going to be able to keep the consistency of a set date and time.
Right.
So we pre-recorded it and released it on, I think we might have been on a schedule, but it was always pre-recorded. And my buddy that was filming was great. A guy named Joey Zambrano, man. A buddy that helped us out, and then his computer crashed. And we couldn't do anything anymore. We got stuck. So we started a show at one time and it didn't last long. And then we thought about doing it. Yeah, it was a live stream.
So, live stream. Okay.
Yeah, it was a live stream, but it was pre-recorded. So when it went on live on a Friday night or whatever it was at 8, we already had it pre-recorded, laid out, and we would go on location. And, you know, it was a great concept and idea, just didn't make it anywhere. So, I mean, the cool thing is now, as you were saying, I've had a podcast on the back burner for a long time, but it was going to be like almost kind of like a Whatnot combined with Facebook Live in a podcast form where we were going to sell stuff. But, you know, I finally had this epiphany that I'm like, I don't want to sell on this podcast like that. I can promote what we do and where we're coming from if you want to take a look at that and check it out. But I was like, nah, we got to do something different. So, you know, Superman shit is what the podcast is called, not your typical podcast.
Right.
That's going to come out. We're going to start doing our first intro at the end of this month where we're going to record in the shop. That'll be our intro, talking about where the name came from and kind of the direction I want to go and see where it evolves and how it organically prospers with natural conversation. I like Joe Rogan's podcast where he has people on the show that he's interested in.
Right.
And it's just a conversation. And I dig that. And it's not here to tell. I mean, some people may not like Rogan. I mean, I don't get caught up on.
That's essentially what this show is. That's what I've been doing for the last 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to want to talk about what I'm going to want to talk about. And that's what we're going to talk about. Like, and then we're going to see where that direction goes. And if I got 5 good listeners, hey, I'm cool. People can learn more about me, you know, because Facebook doesn't say a lot. And a lot of people don't know me personally, you know, and I'm only going to show what I need to show. You know, I got to keep some personal life behind the scenes, but
Bro, you just gave me, okay, so I don't know how many, okay, we got some viewers in the audience. If I see who's out there, if anybody steals this idea, I'm going to know where to come after you. You just gave me a fantastic idea. I've been talking to my convention manager about the what's not, about people that are selling live or whatever. And I never really, you know, kind of really got the theme because it just, I don't know, it just seemed very cold. You know what I mean? But you just made me think about like, dude, what if you combined like a love for a toy history / selling show? So what if my theme was He-Man tonight and everything that I'm bringing out to sell, it's going to be all He-Man stuff, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this is the Castle Grayskull, and this came out when I was a kid. I used to play, you know, me and Joey down the street used to battle our Skeletor, you know what I mean? Like get into like the history and like, I don't know, like show little clips of old, you know, old stuff. That'd be kind of a dope little show.
I think that's a great idea, brother. That's a great idea. And I mean, it also gives history on it. If you're getting new fans logging in, you know, to watch the podcast, and as they're becoming collectors in different genres, because they're always out there. Every time they come to the store, I mean, we got somebody young that wasn't born in the 70s and 80s. You know, like I believe you were born in the 70s, like me, right?
Yep.
So I mean, some of these kids are coming in from 2020. You know, they're coming in and they're like, oh, I'm into He-Man. I started watching it. My dad was into it, so now they're getting into it. So it's like that whole next generation of as Star Wars fans and He-Man fans, and they kind of tap into the retro with some of the newer shows that have been revamped. So I mean, that's a great idea, bro. I mean,
hey, let's check this out. Look at Night Vision's idea. This is one I bet you could do at your weekend. Not that you have time with the 700 things, but check this out. What if people brought you their toys and collectibles? You know that old show, Antique Roadshow, where they would bring, have old antiques and stuff, and people would talk about it and tell you the value? You could do that, but with toys.
Yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit, right? The sky's the limit on it. I mean, I know this podcast, where it's going to start and where the direction it can go is going to probably just evolve. I mean, I'd like to talk a lot like of the behind the scenes stuff that I do or other people have to go through, and maybe those experiences can be shared as people try to start their own business, where in all honesty, dude, there's not a lot of help. You're like on your own trying to figure things out. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about merchandising, marketing ideas that, dude, I don't own them. So it doesn't matter what information I give out there, like these other great influencers and entrepreneurs that I follow, they give you all this information, but it's what you're going to do with it. And if you do it, if you do an idea that I'm doing, you're never going to execute it the same way I will. So everybody brings that unique style, or their type of work ethic can be similar but different, and just whatever they do is how they make it their own. So I learned that from being a big fan of like Gary Vee. I don't know if you guys know Gary Vee, but he's a big time entrepreneur, content creator. I mean, multi businesses and marketing and then some. I mean, the guy's been around a long time. His dad used to own a liquor store. He started off when YouTube was not a big thing, and he was doing something called Wine Library, and it's big now. I mean, if people don't know, I mean, I'm sure people know who Gary Vee is. And if you don't, you got to check him out. But I follow him. There's a lot of other entrepreneurs. I listen to their podcasts and I pick their brains, and Rogan's one of them, the podcast. I'm like, what can I take from them and how can I apply it how I'd like to do it, how I process it? So the show will talk about people who are doing Superman shit, that are doing all these multiple things. And I strive for that, So let me get my light back on. I'm sorry.
No worries. No, that's beautiful, man. I think a lot of times, we hear about the negativity and stuff, but it's nice to hear about how other people are actually making it happen. In different courses that people. I was taught by a mentor a long time ago. He told me, if you want what another man has, do what another man does. And of course, it doesn't have to be men. But the idea is, if you want what somebody else has, you have to put in the work that they put in.
Exactly. If you want to be a millionaire, you have to study millionaire habits. So, there's it's in these books that I've read. I mean, it's basically talking about what you want to achieve and become. You got to follow those people. They put all the information in books. There's stories in there, and if they're giving you everything. And on these podcasts, you got guys that give you all this content. You can take a program, you could buy a program for, let's say, fitness, and it's like whatever it could be. I do one called 75 Hard, and it's another entrepreneur I follow named Andy Frisella, and I'm in the program. It's a year program. It's really a mental discipline, but it ties into, physical, mental, nutrition, and it's nothing crazy, dude. It's building your discipline. So I'm following people who are doing these types of things, and I'm reading these books. So, that's how, if anything that anybody is interested in, this is what we're going to talk about on the podcast. Like people that are trying to do Superman shit, people who are doing Superman shit. I'm trying to do Superman shit. You know, I want to be my own superhero. I want to be the guy that's using, my powers, that God has given me, and the talents that I feel are instilled in me, and everybody has them. You just have to exercise them, man. So the podcast is going to talk about a lot of stuff that influences me, and I want to know what influences others. And I'm going to bring guests on, like I'll bring you guys on, that you guys are doing your thing. I'll bring some of the actors and celebrities I've worked with and find out what inspired them and kept them going, when the shows weren't calling them anymore, when they weren't busy, how do you keep going? Because motivation is like showering. It's only daily. Like you got to do it every day. It's like taking a shower. You got to do it every day. Motivation only lasts so long. So really at the end of the day, and what it is in the game is it's discipline, so that's the show's going to talk about just so many things, dude. And then I'll talk about some of the events, but I'm not going to over elaborate. I'm not selling anybody anything. We'll bring in certain key points about what's coming up and talk about what the inspiration was behind those. But
one thing I wanted to tell people that nobody would know this unless they know you personally, but I think is really cool, and it is something to be praised. The last time I did a show with you, this is the only time I've ever seen any producer, and I have produced many shows myself, and I had never done anything like this. So I was completely blown away. But the last time I did a show with you, you looked after all the vendors, and you did like this giveaway thing before the events began. And it was a thank you to all the vendors that were participating. You gave everybody tickets and we had a chance to win stuff. But it wasn't like, if it would have been me, I'd have been giving out lightsabers, right? But with you, you gave out things that people need. You gave out a tent. You gave out tables. You gave out actual equipment that you need in a small vending business. I think you gave out a receipt, register, little cash boxes and things like that. You had all kinds of cool gifts, and it was really incredible to me that that you were really living that. You were actually giving back to those that had helped help your show be what it was.
Yeah, so we did a vendor appreciation for our 15-year celebration last year. We did it at our last show at the end of September 2024. I had this idea, dude. I mean, without vendors, as being a coordinator and a vendor myself, when you don't have vendors, even our cosplayers, dude, they're the pillars of the event. And then the community that comes out, they're the other pillar. Without those people, dude, we don't have anything. You don't have nothing. I mean, I'll be there in the mall like I was kind of almost by myself when I first started doing the event. So, what I did is just like you said, I gave away a trolley. I gave away a cash box with receipt books and tape and pins, and we gave away 6-foot table, a 10x10 canopy, and we gave away price guns. I gave away a free booth to the next event. I gave away $100 that I would go buy from your booth. If you won that certificate, I'll go and buy that. I'll cash that in for $100 and buy from you.
That's
so
amazing.
I did something different, and we gave back. And I mean, there was a price value on it, and I was like, I don't care, dude. Like,
but
without these
that's
people,
something that's memorable for me as a vendor. I mean, obviously, I was a vendor at that event, so I'm talking about it now. And I'll tell you what, I didn't win anything, but it's still something that I remember and I appreciated, even though I didn't walk home with the prize. But it was good, good to know that, a lot of times as a vendor, you pay money into these events, especially these larger ones when you're paying $1,200. And you feel like just a piece of product being pushed around on a floor. You don't really feel like anybody's actually looking at you as an actual business, So it's really nice to have that feeling.
And part of that is a lot of them are not vendors, and they haven't been in the trenches with other vendors and had to haul your containers into a building in the rain, and you're leaving. I've always been the first one there and the last one there. And I mean, I've had like 14-hour days, dude. And then I get up and go to work to my regular job the next day. Like, that's the stuff we're going to talk about on the podcast. And, but I'm a vendor. I mean, I'm a collector first, and then I'm a vendor, and then I'm a coordinator, and then I'm dabbling in the cosplay. And
Right.
I just don't have a lot of time to do it. But there's this ultimate suit I'm going to get built one day, and it's going to be a Wolverine. It's going to be a Wolverine suit, dude. You know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
my end game is to do Weapon X, but I got to have the
Oh,
physique.
wow.
So I
You
got to have
better
the
hit
physique.
those
So
barbells, boy.
yeah, they're in the garage, man. I'm gonna start working on them, but it's gonna take a long time. It's gonna take some time. But you know, that to me, dude. For being an old coming in, I'm half a century old now, dude. I'm 50, so I can say it. That
Right.
it's a way to trick myself to stay in health and look as a goal that this is what I want to achieve. And if I don't get there, it's okay. If I get close, even better. But you
Right.
know, we'll talk about stuff like that on the podcast. And you know, back to like I said, being a vendor when I gave that vendor appreciation those items out, I was like, this is the stuff that we all can utilize. And
Right.
I even gave like a shelf away, a stackable breakdown shelf with
There's a
trays
whole
that you
bunch
put
of
your
stuff.
merch in. Man, I was trying to be creative, man. We were trying to give away, you know, as much as we could, that stuff they can use. And the problem with a lot of the big shows, as with corporations when they become big, is they lose, and that's just business, but they lose the being personable with their vendors and customers. You know, I don't know every person that comes to the mall show, but the more and more I see their faces, even though they don't know me, I feel like I know them because they've been out there. But my
Right.
vendors, I know a lot of them, dude, and I've worked with them for a long time. And some of them are new, and I have some that ignored me. And then they finally were like, "Hey, do you have any room on that show?" And I said, "Absolutely, I can add you in." And you
Right.
know, it might have took some time to convince them that I was working on something, and that's okay, dude, because it showed them that I was consistent and that I didn't go away, that I
Right.
was still a vendor out there like them, and then I was promoting a show that I was putting on. You know, I do about 6 to 8 events a year, and honestly, I'm okay with that. That's enough for me right now amongst everything else that's going
That's a
on.
lot.
Yeah, so it's almost like when you think about it, every month and a half, I'm pushing something. Every 2 months, I'm pushing something new. So you
Right.
know, it's like I get it, dude. I'm in the trenches, and I'm just like everybody else out there, dude. So, you know, I try to stay personable. There's a lot of people that are like thinking I'm mad about something. I'm like, no, I'm focused because I want to do a good job for them
Right.
and for the community that's coming out. I don't want any problems out there. I want everything to be cool. I don't want them to know anything that's going on. I want to put the fires out as they come. I always say I'm a fireman out there walking around with a fire extinguisher. You know, I
Right.
got to
Right.
be
Right.
ready. I got to be ready to put those fires out. So that's what I work on, dude. I try to be personable with everybody, and of course, I can't have a conversation deep with everybody, but I walk around and ask, "Hey, you doing okay? How's it going?" You know, letting them know if they like, "Hey, what time do we close down again today? What time tomorrow do we get to come in?" You know, we'll remind them. I try to get them signed up for the next show way in advance and offer an early bird price if they do continue to stay with us and sign up because we'll have the date locked in. I mean, I just try to do what I hope other promoters and coordinators do. I try to do it the way I would like it to be done when I show up.
Right.
You
Right.
know, I want communication. I want an email to reference. And if I meet with my vendors that are in town, give them flyers, and I answer questions with them or update them on anything, even if they only come for 5 to 10 minutes to refresh them on anything new or remind them and give them flyers. And then we get them out as fast as possible. And then I keep the new people and I go over everything with them, describe what's going on, what they need. And then it's in their contract and it's in an email that I send. And
Right.
I struggled last year trying to get all this dialed in because as things are growing, there's a lot of growing pains. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like pulled in
Right.
20 different directions and I'm trying to keep up with everybody. So now some of those emails and phone calls are not, and texts, I'm not as fast to respond to them as fast as I used to be. But I
You're
mean,
just one man. You
yeah,
need the
I mean,
phone, brother.
I'm doing the best that I can do, and that's all I can do is just keep doing the best I can do. I just got to keeping, you know,
Right.
keeping on, you know.
Well,
Um,
on that note, I wanna let people know a little bit. We got about 10, just over slightly over 10 minutes left. But I want to let people know about what dates you do have coming up for sure. Specifically this weekend. We are very excited here because this will be the first time. Now, Kyber Cave has come out and done weekend blenders, but this is the first time we will have Kyber Cave Productions, our video team, coming out. And really, let's keep it real. It's me, Metz, and hopefully one other volunteer if we can get somebody else. But we're going to be there. We're going to be promoting Kyber K Productions. We're going to have a video there showing this channel. But we're going to also walk around and talk to the different cosplayers, any of the special guests that you have, the different cosplay groups that you have, all the people walking through the mall, the families. And we're going to put out a couple, use that as extra content for this channel to show off that that event itself. So we are very excited as a production company to come out as well.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome to have you guys out there on location, man. It's really cool. So this weekend in Citrus Heights, we're at Sunrise Mall. There might be some changes with that mall, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with our continuation there. We'll have some updates hopefully after this one, what's going to happen there this year, but I can't worry about that right now. I got to worry about, we are there. So,
right.
We're going to just go and do what we do, try to make it the best that we can. And, being up there was never a regret out that way because there's always other things we can continue to do. I mean, the Weekend Blender can continue on wherever we take it, so we're going to be there. We're going to have a good time. Saturday, it's from 11 to 8, Sunday, 12 to 6. And
really quickly, Patrick, Sunrise is in Citrus Heights, just north of Sacramento, just slightly north of Sacramento, very close.
Just right above Roseville as well.
Yeah. That's one that's not so far away if you got time. Patrick lives here in Fairfield, so that's about an hour and a half, or maybe about an hour and 20 minutes away from Fairfield.
Yeah, it's not too bad of a drive. And then we have our great cause. Let me get this light back on. I'm sorry. So we have our great cosplay host, Cindy Rue Cosplays, coming out, and we got a handful of other great cosplayers from up in that northern area that she has helped me coordinate. She's awesome, dude. She takes care of all that for me.
We just recently had Cos Bunny on our show, who's part of the cosplay dropouts. And I know that they're going to be there at Weekend Blender as well.
Yeah, she's awesome too, man. So her and Don Poole, they're great cosplayers, and we got some newer cosplayers coming out from Cindy that I think it might be their second time or their first time coming out.
Wow.
A couple of groups, the Terran Clan, kind of like the Mando Mercs kind of chapter continuation of another group. I think is our Ghostbuster group coming out, dude. I should know. I'm so sorry.
On your ad, the Terran Clan.
Clan and a handful of other great cosplayers.
The Long family is going to be there, I believe.
Yep, and then we have Nick Palma, Michelangelo from Secret of the Ooze 2. He's going to be back with us up there again.
Yes, and we had Nick Palma on our show. Oh, thank you there. Thank you, Mets. We had Nick Palma on our show after getting a chance to meet him through you last year, so we're excited to see him again. This will be Mets' first time to get to meet him live. She met him through the air, but not live.
Yeah, so Nick is going to join us. We added him last minute, and he loves being back out there with us. So he's coming back. He has family up in the Bay Area, so it's always like he makes it a worthwhile trip up there for the weekend when he heads out that way. Nice. And gonna have some vendors, variety of vendors. I know I got one of my guys coming out. This prop making, 3D printing. It's just going to be a good time, dude. That mall needs some love, man. And they're actually the same owners that own the mall that we're here in Clovis, Fresno area.
Oh, wow.
And then they also own the West Valley Mall in Tracy, and we'll be back there in June. So we could probably talk about that one before.
You do a tour of all their malls?
Yeah, so they own 3 California malls, and the rest of their malls on the East Coast. Of course, I'm not going to go that far out there yet. Right. But they own 3 in California, so that's why we're tied into those 2 malls up north. Tracy, and then of course Citrus Heights right there. So
that is amazing. Does it make it hard for you to promote in areas that you don't live in?
It does. So I have to get up there on the road like I have the last few months when I've got up there to go promote and hit. Every spot I can hit on the way up there, and then work my way back down. Right. And, based on the time things open and the travel in between each town and trying to find these places that I'm not really familiar with. And then, it one day goes fast up there. So I do the best I can. And then I try to get flyers to some of the people out that way so they can help distribute them for me. So, Hey man, sometimes I win on some of that stuff and sometimes I don't, but I just do everything I could possibly do.
Well, I
Always
know
trying to find a way to be better about it, you know?
people always seem to have a really good time. I always feel like it's a very comfortable family atmosphere. It's not one where I'm worried about weird, creepy people or even the crowding. And the way you've done it too. I love how it's spread out through kind of the mall, so it's not a bunch of people jammed up in one little spot. There's really good flow and movement, as well as your costume. You do a great costume competition. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the cosplay contest, it's both days. It's free. You don't have to pay nothing, of course. I mean, you just sign up, and we'll just give away some prizes both days. Usually on Saturdays we have it around 4:30, and then on Sundays we have it at 3:30. So
Okay.
it's kids and adults. There's my host will have the categories organized. When you come in, you'll sign up at Cindy Rue's cosplay area. There'll be a sign up sheet there. And they might do a weapon and prop check on you real quick just to make sure everything's safe. But it's a real easy peasy thing, dude. And then there's a waterfall, kind of like an inside. Well, it used to be active at one time, like a little water pond or something in there. There's a couple of them, but we set up in front of one of those, and then that's where she coordinates with a couple of judges, and then she has the way that she does the judging and the breakdown. And we'll give stuff away, dude. It just gets people, a chance to come up and sign up and enjoy an event that's just small and low key, dude. I mean, it's not
Right.
something overwhelming. You could get in the parking easy and get out. It doesn't cost you nothing. If you want to buy anything from the vendor or pay for an autograph, that's all it's going to cost you when you spend money. You
Right,
know,
right.
so
And
it's really up to your choices.
for other places that sometimes I hear like, oh, it's going to take away from the other businesses. Actually, I think it value adds to the mall. It gives people a reason to come into the mall, and while they're in there, they might buy some shoes or they might buy a pretzel or buy from one of the established owners as well as the vendors that are in there. I think it's good for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been our philosophy, and that's what we tell the mall. And the mall does see that there is increased foot traffic, and a lot of the owners in there are happy that something's going on in there, and they always say we did better, we do better when you guys are here.
Right.
So that's always an awesome thing, dude, because it's never a selfish task. I mean, it's always about everybody winning in there, from the people that
Right.
come in as fans to my vendors putting, food on their table from something that they're pursuing as I don't want to say hobby, but a hustle, an
Right.
extra job, or some of them do it for a living. If we can help them put food on the table, dude, put business into the mall there, and they could put food on the table, and as long as we don't lose food on our table, and we're making progress, that's
Right.
the goal and that's the key. And then the cosplayers have an outlet to come out and showcase what they work on and give them a comfortable, safe place to be at. So we always strive to keep it drama free. It's stuff happens, and if anything arises, I try to take care of it right away, so it's not anything that we should have to worry about. So,
Right.
and that's why I walk around a lot and keep an eye, and I got to have my ear out there, to the ground and making sure everything's good. But usually
Right.
everything's safe and fun, and it's just a big nerd community, dude, for everybody to come to this outlet that we can bring, to those two cities up north twice a year, and into our town twice a year as well. So
Excellent. Excellent. Night Vision says, thanks again for taking this time, Peter. Love your attitude. It is a fantastic attitude. Hey, in the last couple of minutes here, why don't you shoot some dates at people really quick of the stuff that that you have coming up? Of course, we've got Weekend Blender this next weekend at Citrus Heights. Kyber Cave will be there. And for the first time, Kyber Cave Productions will be there. Yes, not your typical Comic-Con. That is true. That is where you are going to see Nick Palma. He was on this show. You can even check if you type in your Google search, type in Kyber Cave and Nick Palma. That interview will pop up. Fantastic, awesome gentleman. I can't wait for Mets to meet him and talk to him, as well as some of your other cosplayers. But I know you've got a MegaCon. You've got like several other ones already planned out for this year.
yeah, so so we have the Citrus sites this weekend, and then we have the end of April. I hope I'm right on the dates. I should know, right? I want to say 26th, 27th of April.
Let me check my calendar because I'm pretty sure I'm locked into your stuff.
It's the last weekend of April.
27.
Yeah, 26th, 27th of April. And we have our home show in Sierra Vista Mall in Clovis, California. It's part of Fresno. I just tell everybody Fresno and Clovis are pretty much the same thing.
Right.
Literally across the street. I never look at Clovis as it's not part of Fresno. So, you know, it's in our hometown, our home mall. This is our 16th year.
Wow.
And this is where it all began and evolved to what it's become. And that's because that's what the people, they wanted it. So we kept rolling with it.
Right.
And then May 10th, we go to Madera, California.
That's a tight schedule.
Yeah, and then we jump to Madera Fairgrounds, which is 20 minutes north of Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're coming south from the Bay Area, it's going to be 20 minutes before Fresno. It's right off the freeway. It's going to be an outdoor event, and we do have a building that we're going to have some celebs and some entertainment going on in there. Cosplay contest. We got a Star Wars Cantina themed bar. We're going to be able to do beer and wine, and then we're looking at some food trucks that we'll have out there.
Okay.
Various vendors, and we locked in Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk, will be there.
Excellent.
Got Lou back, and then we have John C. Morris, who was Andy from Toy Story. He's coming out.
Excellent. And I know he's going to be at VacaCon here soon too. But see, that's when you got to pay for. But you can go see him for free with you.
Yeah, and the lines won't be as crazy as the bigger shows. And then, you know, we got Najee Jeter, who was Miles Morales from the video game, and he was also in some animated Spider-Man series where he was Miles as well.
Oh wow!
You know, so you know he's going to be out, and he's a big draw. And there's tons of Miles Morales things to get signed.
Yeah,
you know, from Spider-Verse. We got our stuff already lined up and ready to go for him. And then we have John St. John, I believe his name is, who was in Sonic the Hedgehog as Fat the Cat and Omega.
Oh, okay,
robot.
okay.
And they do have Funko Pops for him, of course, for Miles Morales. Andy from Toy Story, which is John C. Morris. I believe there's going to be an Andy Pop coming out if it's not already out.
Oh,
and then, of course, Incredible Hulk. I mean, there's tons of stuff to get signed by Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and then we have a couple other pending on that. We're looking at a couple things right now. We might have to rearrange a few things, but you know, we're almost done with that, dude. And it's called OmegaCon. We did it in Fresno Fairgrounds last year. We relocated, moved it down to 1 day. We got a little bit more free play in there, where we don't have to charge for parking, and it's only a $10 ticket online, or it's $15 at the gates, kids 10 and under free. And we kept it affordable, where you're not spending much to get in, and you got money there to spend with the vendors, to put the money back into them for any autographs. If you want to buy a beer, walk around, maybe a glass of wine, you know, buy something from the food vendors. I mean, it's just going to be cool. We haven't announced the cosplay prizes just yet, but we're going to work on that. There will be a cash prize on that we're going to do. That should be pretty worthwhile for people to want to come down.
Excellent.
And you know, we'll see what we can do with that, you know, and make that awesome and exciting. I got a lot of work to do on that, and I'm working on that behind the scenes. And after that, we go from May 10th to the first weekend of June, which I want to say is the 6th and 7th, I believe. And that is in West Valley Mall in Tracy, California.
Okay. What month?
June 6th and 7th, I believe.
June 7th. Oh, I don't have that one on my. Well, the 6th is the Friday, so June 7th.
Okay.
And
so I'm sorry, June 7th and 8th. That weekend, we're back in Tracy, West Valley Mall.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. Let me ask you. Okay, last question, and then I'll let you go. If money was not an option, who would you be your ultimate celebrity you would like to have it be at the show? Would it be Hugh Jackman?
Definitely Hugh Jackman. It'd be definitely Hugh Jackman.
I just assumed since it was Wolverine.
Yeah. I don't know. You probably can't really see that, but I actually have him from the Wolverine where he's got the claws in front of his face. Oh, I have that in my inner forearm from years ago, tattooed years ago. I got it done.
Right.
So yeah, it would be Hugh Jackman. I'm a big fan of that guy.
Well,
you know, of course,
we'll keep working on that.
Yeah, I mean, and if it wasn't about the money, dude, we definitely and we don't want it to be about the money, honestly. I mean, if you do
Right.
your job right and you do the work, dude, the blessings will come. So that's how I like to do things, and I have to be careful on the cost, but I have to be like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna just if you don't jump, you're never gonna leap. So but I got to make sure that I don't jump too far where I fall into a pit. But I'm not as afraid anymore to make those jumps, and even though there's risk behind everything, um, I just try to I try to go with what I feel inside and what I should do with these events. So
excellent. Well, I know you always make them fun. You always make them feel warm and very inviting. I always see the cosplayers having a good time. I see the families coming out, and I know the little kids love all the cosplayers. So you're already doing a fantastic job.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate those words more than you know. Thank you so much, man.
And I cannot wait for your new podcast. Oh, when are we expecting that to start? Do we have a date?
I don't have a release date yet. So what we're going to do is pre-record and try to bank. I'd like to bank about 10 to 12 episodes just in case life is going to stay busy. So that way we can put content out, and then I'm going to find a way to pull out content from that and break it down in snippets. Learning that from a lot of the influencers I follow, where you can pull out snippets of your content and utilize that for different little things. So that's going to take a little bit of work, making sure my video guys are able to do that. And I've worked with them for a very long time. We've had this on the back burner. And I actually came up with the name 3 or more years ago and didn't realize it. And then I circled back around with it. And then, I'll talk about that in the first one. And that's just going to be more of an intro with the store, in the store type of thing.
Right.
We'll probably do that before we open. And then the other ones will be kind of like the way we're doing this now, where I can basically stream from wherever I'm at, whether it be in my car, and then we get everybody else in on wherever they're coming from. Like, it's going to just be very natural and organic, man. And I'm hoping we can get it released in May before OmegaCon. That is my goal, at least to get half of what I'm projecting we should bank, to maybe release that. So hopefully in between April and May, we at least get it out there and get it in motion,
Right. You can even have like a little viewing room.
Yeah, I mean,
for people to chill out when they need to rest, they can watch the show.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that I can be an interesting guy that people are going to want to follow, and I hope the stories that I got and the things that we can get into talking about, I'm going to just put it out there in the universe, man, and see what becomes of it.
Excellent. Well, I am excited. I cannot wait to see what becomes of it. If your past work is any precedent, then I know this is going to do fantastic. So I look forward to seeing you this weekend. We will be out there with 2 different booths for you. Nice. We're going to have a great show.
Well, I appreciate you both. Thank you for all the hard work and the continuous efforts you guys have been putting in. I always appreciate it on here. I mean, anytime you need me, just call me, man. If you get a cancellation and you just want to go over whatever else, just call me. I'll try to make myself available as fast as possible, man.
Right. Well, we appreciate you, brother. All right, man. I'll see you this weekend. Take it easy.
All right. We'll see you guys soon. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
You too. Say hi to the family.
Oh gosh, didn't fix that layout. Put me on that side. It's like, okay, it's like we're the parents of Kyra Productions, and it's like parents have their certain side of the bed. We have our certain side of the show. I'm on this side.
This is my side.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much, Pete, for coming on our show, and I'm looking forward to meeting you this coming weekend. I'm actually going to be at a convention. I know it's just weird. Metz is going to be somewhere,
and then crazily, then you'll have one like 2 weeks behind that.
Yeah. It's just interesting to even think about me going to places. Anyway, so thank you so much. I want to make sure we also bring up the different ways you can support us. You can go to kcpmerch.com and buy any merch there. We actually will be possibly having some of it with us this weekend. I'll bring a couple of my own things just to have, maybe.
If not, let's get it now so we have it for Vacagon.
Yeah, exactly. That's 100% true. And then you can go to patreon.com/KaiBreaking Productions and you can support us for as low as $1 a month. And you get perks for every little tier, including being thanked at the end of our show in our Patreon credits roll. So we thank each one of our Patreons now. It helps support the show and the time on the channel, mostly editing and making images and such like that. So,
and we are in March, so April, May, we're coming next month. We'll be doing our giveaway.
Oh yeah, wow. In just 2 months, just under 2 months, we'll be doing our giveaway, which is crazy to even think about. Yeah.
Well, no, we do it right after taxes made are April 15th.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we do it we'll do it on the 20th show.
Oh, okay.
And the idea is to be able to mail it so that people can have it for May 4th.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, we want them to be able to play with it on May 4th.
All right. And then now it's time for Guess That Character.
Guess that character.
All right. I'm in a new background.
Oh, look at that.
I know. I've been kind of like spicing things up a little wee bit like this.
I like it. I'm digging
Who dat?
Okay.
I think that one's pretty obvious. I made an easy one.
Well, let's see. Let's go to private.
Who do you think it is? Tell me in the chat. Please do. I'd love to know. Say Wong says Darth Maul. Swisted says Darth Maul. I don't know what they're talking about. Van had like Maul or Savage. Okay.
Savage.
Of course, it's Maul. Maul knows to be a shadow during the Imperial era, was force-sensitive Dathomirian. I can't say it very well. Zabrak male who established himself as a crime lord during the reign of the Galactic Empire.
Wow.
And during his conflict with the Jedi fugitives, Kanan Jarrus and Ezra Bridger, Maul tracked Kenobi to Tatooine, determined to finally end their rivalry for good. Their last lightsaber duel ended when the Jedi Master struck down his old nemesis. Believing that Kenobi had consigned himself to a life of exile to protect the Chosen One, Maul died, taking comfort in the belief that he would be avenged once the Sith's prophesied destruction was realized.
Kenobi? Did you see Night Vision's
Kenobi?
Do you know who that is?
That's the guy playing Maul.
No, Rachel Maddow is an MSNBC news reporter.
Oh, okay.
She has nothing to do with Star Wars whatsoever.
Okay. Next, who's this?
All right. Ooh.
Little harder.
I'm gonna guess human.
Okay.
Although I don't know, like, is that a weird,
interesting choice?
Funky eyeball. Let's see. Who could that be?
Okay, so Swisted said Grand Moff Tarkin. Sail Wong says Tarkin again. Kevin Hogan says Senator Organa.
Right. I will put them up.
All right, so this. Oh, wait. Let me see if Van got it right. No. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Oh, Kevin got it right.
Yeah, Kevin got it right there at the end. So his actual name before he went by Thrawn regularly was Mithron New. Okay, wait, hang on. I have to practice this. I practiced it earlier. I didn't want to sound like an idiot. Mithron Nudurodo. Born as Kivu Ron Nudu, with the core name Vudon, recognized in his military career as and better known by his core name as Thrawn. Just to give you a little background on him, in the years following Imperial Grand Admiral Thrawn's disappearance, both the Emperor and Vader were killed at the Battle of Endor, and the Empire was decisively beaten at the Battle of Jakku, and the alliance to restore the Republic was reorganized into the New Republic. Eventually, with the help of Elsbeth and Great Mother, Thrawn would escape Heredia, though unbeknownst to him, so did Ezra Bridger. Free from his exile, Thrawn and the Great Mother has traveled to the Night Sister homeworld of Dathomir. Now, the last time we saw him was on Osaka when he returns to the galaxy after being exiled for so long. If you don't know this actor, so Mads Mikkelsen, that's his brother. He played like the bad guy in the first Doctor Who movie. That's a good way to explain him. But they look so much alike. It drives me crazy. They're both great actors. And yeah, so I thought it was kind of cool. The reason I gave a little bit more background on Thrawn is because he's still alive. So
It's
like
freaking
there's
Elon Musk.
Maul's like, we know he did. I'm sorry. We know
I
he did.
actually said old Obi-Wan too, Raph. Hey,
I know he did. He did.
Hey, really quickly, I know we're at the end of the show. I should have brought this up earlier to give people time, but for the people that we have still online, I would like to get kind of a little bit of feedback. We had been talking about the idea before, just in general, of whether we should keep Saber Rattle on Sunday nights or the idea to move it to potentially a weekday. And what that does is it would ensure that I don't have to, on the nights that I have a convention on a Sunday, I don't have to race back and or find another host or make sure that Metz can do it by herself. If we did
Honey,
it on a weekday.
I've done this show on my own before.
I know you have, and you do it very well. So we can keep it on a Sunday if this is where we like it. Metz and I kind of have batted around, but we haven't really come to a conclusion. But we could also move it to a weekday. So if there is any preferences, please change it to weekdays on convention weekends. See, then that makes it
going back and forth is kind of tough.
I prefer to have it like every Tuesday or every Sunday or
because if sometimes there's a convention that Van suddenly goes to, gets access to it last minute or something like that, and then we can't change the show very suddenly like that. So the consistency of it is actually pretty key.
Right. Yeah. That's going to be a little tough too. And also too, we try to keep it consistent for our guests and our host as well. Oh, pardon me, goodness. So, if you guys have any ideas or if you have any preferences, please let us know. Make it consistent. Make it consistently inconsistent.
That's Van's appearances are sometimes like his tech is like that.
Yeah, I think we're already consistently consistent. At least we get it down to within 5 or 6 minutes or so. All right, guys. Well, if you guys have any, it depends on if the guests are able to do the show on weekdays. Right. Well, that's what.
Yeah.
And the only reason is that I had thought about it is other shows, for example, Distance Nerding, they do interviews on other days that are not the weekends as well. And sometimes the weekends are hard for our guests as well because they are also sometimes at conventions. So there's just a lot of factors. It doesn't, I guess what really matters is who would be tuning in and if we lose coverage or if we gain more coverage. I don't know. I have a job that keeps me watching it on weekdays. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of
hard because then next we know, the people who have been regularly watching us are not going to be able to watch because it's and then that sometimes when you change your nights of a live show, that engagement that you have goes away because if they can't watch it live, sometimes they won't watch it at all. It just depends.
Right. But we don't know. We might end up having more people live on, like Eric and I were talking about, and there was some sports show he was watching that was live at like 2 p.m. and had like 2,000 people in the chat room, at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that kind of thing happen sometimes. It's nuts, but all right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Just a reminder, there are different ways to support us, as we just mentioned, as well as this weekend at Weekend Blender at Sunrise Mall in Citrus Heights. You will see Mez will be there on Saturday. From what was it, 10 to 6?
Well, yeah, you don't have to stay the whole day. I think we're going to be there until like 8 at night.
Oh yeah, I only plan to stay until 6. So.
Yeah. And I also want to remind people to next weekend or next Sunday show, we have Robert Estrada, who is the founder of the Saber Guild. That's what it was. That's what I kept.
Saber Guild. Yeah, you're like, which one? I was like,
I knew it was one of those huge organizations.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, our Kyber K family. We love you and we appreciate you. Again, if you want to come by my personal stream on Tuesday starting at noon Pacific, it is on Twitch at MetsoJD. You can find me there all day on Tuesday, pretty much. So we'll have some good times and fun. I'm playing a game called Phasmophobia, and it can be kind of scary sometimes. And so maybe you'll hear me go or something. Yeah.
That's why she has to play it at noon. She doesn't want to play it at midnight.
I don't play anything at midnight. I sleep. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Have a good week. Bye.
Bye. Love you guys. Peace.